Welcome to today's daily news analysis. I am Akhil Rajratnam. So these are the 4 topics which I have taken from today's daily news analysis. So all these topics are from the Hindu only. The first one is related to it's actually from the text and context page of Hindu. So this is talking related to the how India developed the genome edited, right? So here we'll be discussing regarding what is this process of the genome editing, what is actually the difference between the genetically modified and genetically editing. So all these things we'll be discussing in this, and also some important terms like what is this CRISPR, Cas9, some technical terms also we'll be discussing. Okay, so next one, very important development in the judiciary. So Justice B.R. Gavai takes over as CJI for a 6 months tenure. Okay, so again this is also a very important update from the judiciary. So here we'll be discussing regarding what is the role of the Chief Justice of India, how the Chief Justice is getting appointed, what are the process involved in this, and some constitutional provisions also we'll be discussing in this. Okay, the third article is again a survey report. So birth rates in Delhi, Kerala and Tamil Nadu declining at twice the rate of national average. Okay, so this is actually a very important survey report. Okay, so which has come. So in this the birth rate, we'll see what is actually the normally in the birth rate, how it is actually the birth rate is different in the northern states as well as southern state. What are the causes for all these things we'll be discussing in this particular topic. Okay, and final one, the center revamps of PLFS includes rural jobs data. Okay, so this is related to the periodic labor force survey. Okay, so here the government has revamped it, and again they have added some new metrics were also added to that. Okay, so here we will be discussing regarding the survey report and what are actually the changes which the government has incorporated in this year's survey. Okay, all right. So moving on to the first topic, this is related to genome editing, a very important topic, especially from the biotechnology point of view. You can use it for, it's important from both prelims point of view as well as mains point of view. Okay, so what has happened here? What is actually the news? So India, recently there was a breakthrough in this agriculture. It's a very fascinating development in agriculture. India has created a new rice variety using the technique known as genome editing. Okay, it's a big deal because it could change how we actually grow food. It's actually a little different from the traditional way of growing food, especially in this phase of this climate changes. Okay, so what exactly is this genome editing? We'll start with the basic. What is actually the genome editing? Okay, so previous year question. Genetic engineering is a double-edged sword. The only solution is to accelerate the good side of these technologies. Discuss it was asked in 2011. Again, these areas like genetics, genome editing, all these things are very important from the GS3 point of view. Okay, so it's very important. All right, so we'll see what is actually this genome editing. Okay, genome, you know what is genome. So this genome will be edited. So how it is edited? Think of it like editing a sentence in a book. If you want to edit a sentence in a book, instead of adding new words from another book, which would be another book, what you will be doing? You will just fixing the typo or maybe rearrange the words within the same sentence. This is exactly what is happening in this genome also. Okay, so instead of adding new words from another book, what we will be doing, we will be fixing whatever is existing in that particular thing. Okay, so kind of rearranging the genes. Okay, so here what the scientists are doing, they are actually making very precise changes directly in the plant's own DNA. Here I am talking about a plant only, so that's why it's a plant's own DNA. Okay, so Indian researchers use a technology known as site-directed nuclease technique. Site-directed nuclease technique or SDN. There are different types of SDNs are there, whether it be SDN1, SDN2, SDN3, and each of them are having their own difference. Okay, so here it is site-directed nuclease technique. Site-directed nuclease technique. From here itself, maybe you will be able to understand what is site-directed nuclease training. Okay, all right. So there are three main types. One is the SDN1. So SDN1 or site-directed nuclease training one. Technique 1. So this is like making small cut in the DNA. So DNA strand will be there. So you will be making a small cut in the DNA using we have the DNA scissors are there, like CRISPR Cas9 scissors are there. So we will be making a small cut in the DNA and the plant's natural repair system will be fixing it. Okay. Now also, for example, I am making cut in my body. What will happen? It will automatically heal. Okay. For a normal human adult, it will be automatically healing. So this is what is happening in this SDN1. So we will be cutting this DNA strand using some sort of technique will be there. So this is SDN1. Okay. So here the natural fixing technique is used. Natural fixing technique of the plant is used. Okay. So that is SDN1. 1. Next we have the SDN2 is there. Okay, so here a repair is gated. Earlier it was natural system. So here what we will be doing, a repair is gated using a template to make some specific changes. We need to know, for example, if it's a pest resistant. So we need to, we will be incorporating a specific change, a specific change that will be incorporated from outside. So this is what is happening in the SDN2 process. Okay, so it's specific template. Whatever we want, we will be adding it. Again, so this is very important, SDN3. Okay, so SDN3 we sometimes we won't be considering it as a genome editing, and sometimes it is gene modification. Okay, or maybe we call it as a GMO crop center. Okay, so this one actually inserts foreign genomes, foreign genes from other species, and this is what we usually say it as a GMO, or the genetically modified crops. Okay, so here foreign genes will be incorporated. Foreign genes will be incorporated. So here no genes are incorporated, just a cut is only done. So STN2, whatever we want, will be incorporating from the plant itself, the same plant itself. Here foreign genes are incorporated, and this is something which we call as genetically modified organisms, or GMO. Okay, so this is actually the difference between SDN1, SDN2 and SDN3. Okay, so now what we have developed, we have created GMO rice, genetically edited rice varieties. Okay, genetically edited rice varieties. So there we have used only this SDN1 and SDN2. We have used only SDN1 and SDN2. So SDN2 3 was not introduced. So we cannot call it as a, technically we cannot call it as a GMO. Okay, that means these are not classified as genetically modified organism under the present Indian laws. Okay. Alright, so now let's look at the what were actually the rice varieties which were introduced in this particular using this particular technology. Okay, so these are the two important rice varieties which we have introduced. One is DRR Dhan 100, or we call it as a Kamala variety. DRR Dhan 100, or the Kamala variety, and also next one is a Pusa DST rice one. Okay, Pusa DST rice one and Kamala, DRR Dhan 100, or the Kamala variety. So here the parent variety is Samba Mazuri. Okay, so obviously we need a parent variety. In that only we will be able to do the STN1 and STN2. Okay, so the parent variety is Samba Mansuri. Okay, and compared to its parent, this Kamala variety, so this will be yielding 5.37 tons. 5.37 tons per hectare. Okay, so the parent variety will be having 4.5 tons per hectare only. Okay, so what is the advantage here? We will be getting a higher yield. We will be getting a higher yield, and also another advantage is like the it will be matured in 20 days early. Okay, so 20 days early itself we will be able to take the yield. So obviously pre-maturing will also be there. So that is also another important advantage we have, and obviously this can be grown in places where there are little drought. So drought tolerance is also there. So this is something which is very important in the present scenario because of the climate change. So drought tolerance is also there, and the also high nitrogen use efficiency is also there. So obviously it will be absorbing nitrogens better, and even if you are using a fertilizer also, that efficiency will be much better in this. Okay, nitrogen fertilizers can be absorbed more efficiently. So this also makes it very resilient, and even maybe we can call it as a smart crop itself. Okay, all right. So next one is Pusa DST variety. Okay, so here the parent variety is MTU 1010. Okay, so here also the yield is increasing. Here yield is increasing. Here the yield is 3508 kilogram per hectare. So this is actually a 9.66 increase over the parent variety. So here one more condition is there. Inland salinity stress also is considered. Inland salinity stress. So this is something little more tougher variety. Okay, so a little more tougher against the salty soil. So this is also very much crucial in regions where the salinity stress is also happening. For example, the rice which is, or maybe the paddy fields which are very much closer to the coastal areas. Okay, so it performs better under this inland as well as a coastal salinity, and obviously with the increase in the yield also. Okay, increase in the yield, maybe we can say that this is actually the minimum yield 9.6%, and they are saying that it can go up till 30% also. Okay, so it's a very big advantage for the farmers dealing with this tougher soil conditions. Okay, all right. So these are the two important varieties of gene edited crops which we have developed. Rice, specifically the rice which we have developed. Okay, so why this is important? Why we need to come up with all this kind of new things, and why this is important? We have already discussed while discussing the traits itself. You might have understood what is actually the goal. So the main goal of using this genome editing is that it will be having a higher yield or higher productivity will be there. Higher yield or higher productivity will be there, and in some cases, like I have said, it will have a pre-maturing date will be there. Pre-maturing date. Okay, for example, like 20 days earlier itself it will be maturing. So obviously we'll be getting a yield in a better time. Okay, so that's also there, and more it will some of these crops are drought resistant. So obviously it is resilient to the climate stress also. Obviously the nutrition will be improving, and also the farming will also be sustainable. Okay, so these are some of the important uh, goals of this particular genome editing technique. Okay, so now you might be wondering why these crops are not genetically modified. Maybe we, other than SDN, if it's SDN 1 is not genetically modified, SDN 2 is not genetically modified, SDN 3 is only genetically modified. But there are still some arguments that this can also be considered as genetically modified. So why this is not genetically modified? Okay. Anyway, the experts are saying that it cannot be classified as a genetically modified crop. Okay, we cannot classify it as a genetically modified crop because genome editing here doesn't involve inserting the foreign genes. Okay, it's completely the perspective basically. Some people say that otherwise also we might consider it as a genetically modified, but still as per the major understanding, it's like if you are not inserting a foreign gene, it cannot be considered as a genetic modification. So only making precise tweaks within the plant's own DNA. So that is a key point here. It will be the own DNA of the plant using this SDN1 and SDN2 only. Okay, so this is just editing only, not modification. So that is the argument which the makers of this is giving. Okay, but there are some serious issues also. Not everyone is convinced with this announcement, and not everyone is saying that this is not something. This is not. They are saying that this is not something which we should be celebrating, and this is something which is creating a lot of what confusion also. Okay, in this definition. So that is another argument which we are having. Okay, so here you can see that what is the difference between this genetic editing and genetic modification. So here you can see the DNA strand. Okay, so normal DNA, what SDN1 and SDN2 means, here a small cut will be made. Wherever we want, cut will be made, and sometimes the own DNA snippet, the snipped out part will be added to this. Here what is happening? Here the different species DNA is being added to this. Okay, so this is considered as completely considered as a genetically modified one. Okay. Alright, so what were the controversies and the objections in this particular thing? Okay, so some experts, including those who were part of this earlier India's agriculture research program, so they called it as a premature and something which has lacked transparency, non-transparent announcement. Okay, they are saying that there should be more field level evidence. There should be more field level evidence to ensure that this is not genetically modified. Okay, we should be having more field level evidence. Field level evidence means we have to grow it, and we have to ensure that all these things are safe as well as precise. So there are also concerns that deregulating this SDN1 and SDN2, so that could be illegal under this existing laws. Existing laws are not much in favor of this genome editing, and also they are worried about losing control over the seeds due to plants are having this for intellectual property rights. Also plants are having their own thing. So that issue might also happen. So they are calling for full disclosure about who owns the technology and the patents involved, because there is something known as a seed sovereignty. Okay, the concept of seed sovereignty is there. So they are saying that the seed sovereignty will be lost, and that will be affecting the farmers who are cultivating this. So that is also one of the points which they are saying. The farmers use rights to save and reuse the seed, so that will be gone. So obviously this is a very sensitive issue. Okay, all right. So what does all these things mean for the future? Anyway, genome editing holds great potential, or maybe great promise. So who will be benefited? Everyone will be benefited. But there will be farmers. The farmers will be benefited. or maybe the end consumers, they'll also be benefited. The environment might be benefited, like the drought resistance, even the economy will be benefited. So like that, everyone will be benefited from this technology. So that is for sure. Anyway, in summary, we can say that in genome edited rice is actually a pioneering step with huge potential environmental and economic benefits. But again, it's also raises, like every technology, it also, like the AI technology and all, it also raises very important questions about the regulation, safety, as well as ethical point. Okay, so as this field develops, keeping an eye on both the scientific progress and policy decision, that is very much crucial. That is very much crucial for the development of this technology itself. Okay. So that's the first topic regarding genome editing. Moving on to next topic, very important development from the field of judiciary. Okay, so Justice Bhushan Ramakrishna Gavai, or B.R. Gavai. So he has been appointed as a new Chief Justice of India, or in short we call it as a CJI. Okay, so what exactly does this mean? How is this appointment happening in India? So what are the qualifications of the Chief Justice of India? So when will he retire? All these things, the important constitutional provisions regarding this, all these things will be discussing in this. Okay. All right. A previous year question in this regard. So with reference to Indian judiciary, consider the following statements. Again, this is related to the judges only. Okay. Maybe similar question can be asked regarding CJ also. Okay. All right. So what is actually the constitutional basis of Chief Justice of India? Okay. What is actually the constitution saying about this particular post, Chief Justice of India? Okay. Very important article which is dealing with the Indian judiciary. So that is specifically Article 120. Article 124. In Article 124, you will see it talks about setting up the Supreme Court. Setting up the Supreme Court means inside Supreme Court who all will be there? Judges will be there. Judges, and obviously Chief Justice is also a important judge. Okay, and interestingly, we can see that it doesn't, the constitution doesn't explicitly mention the role of Chief Justice of India. Instead, it has referred to only the Chief Justice of Supreme Court, not Chief Justice of India, but it refers to Chief Justice of Supreme Court. So how do we get this title? How do we get this title? It has come through a long process, long-standing conventions, and even long-standing practice also. And not we cannot say that it's completely in line with the constitution, but still, these posts are sometimes not mentioned, but we have devised it. For example, Supreme Court is the highest court in India, maybe the apex court in India, and the person who is the most senior most judge in this Supreme Court, he is actually acting as a Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. And Supreme Court is the highest court, we call him as a Chief Justice of India. Okay, so this is how the convention has what framed. Okay, all right. Now how is this CGI appointed? How is the CGI appointed, and who is this CGI? President of India. The CGI is appointed by the President of India in his hand and seat. Okay, but what is the catch here? It is actually the post of CGI is not something who is directly appointed. I mean, it's actually someone who will be promoted within the judges itself. Okay, within the judges. So it's usually the senior most judge of the Supreme Court. So he will be stepping up as a CJ. Okay, so once he retires, the next senior most judge will be again stepping up as a CJ. So like that way, this will be going on. Okay, so this practice has been followed mostly since 1973. This has been followed, but still there were some exceptions. Very important exceptions were also there, because in 1970s, you know what happened? Emergency happened. So emergency happened, and there were some political consideration also while appointing this CJ. Okay, so some people has to bypass. They have bypassed the seniority and they have become CJ. Okay, so these things have happened in the history, and obviously that has caused a lot of controversy also. Okay, anyway, the CJ doesn't have a fixed tenure. That's most important one. So whatever tenure is available for the judges, that only the CJ will also be having. And the Supreme Court judges, you might be knowing that they'll be retiring at the age of 65. Okay, so they can serve till the age of 65. It's no fixed tenure. For example, if they are getting appointed in the age of 55, that mostly won't be happening, but still they are getting appointed at the age of 55 means they will be serving till 65. 10 years of tenure they'll be getting. Okay, and in between he can become the CGI. Can become the CGI, and obviously when he reaches the age of 65, obviously he'll have to retire. So this is what is happening in India. No fixed tenure, but there is an age limit for the judges. So that is convention is followed in this. Okay, all right. So what is actually the role of CJ? CJ has a lot of roles are there, like administrative roles are there, judicial roles are there, many roles are there with the CJ. Okay, so what is actually the role of CJ? Powers and responsibility of CJ. So like for Prime Minister, we'll be saying that he is first among the equals. Okay, first among the ministers. It's not like Prime Minister is much above the other ministers. He is actually the first among the equals. Here also it is the same thing only. The Chief Justice of India is actually the first among the equals, and he has a lot of functions to do, like administrative functions as well as judicial functions within the court itself. Okay, so all the Supreme Court judges are equal in rank. That is a major catch point. All are equal in rank, but he will be having little precedence while having some important administrative as well as judicial duties. Okay, so they preside over the constitution benches. So this is one of the major duties of the CJI. Okay, and there are also special groups of judges that decide on big questions about law, like the constitutional benches usually deal with these kind of laws only. So here also they decide which judges will hear which cases. So again, this also essentially means that how the benches are being allocated. So here also CJI will be having a discretion, and also if the CJI want to take up a case on their own, especially the public interest litigation, which are cases that affect on the public broadly, that can also be done by the CJI. Okay, so these are in the judicial front. If you go to the administrative side, you can see that CJI leads the Supreme Court and oversees all the court procedures, from the clerk to everything. The CJI can make the rules accordingly, but within the constitution, not within any law which is available, like the procedures, the rosters, the case listings, all these things can be done by the CJI. Okay, and one of the most powerful roles of the CJI is a judicial appointments and transfers. Okay, so we'll be discussing regarding this later, but still, most powerful role is judicial appointments and transfers. Okay, and all these things are handled through something known as a collegium system. So this collegium system has got a lot of advantages, and it has been into a lot of controversies also. We have past DNAs also we have discussed regarding this collegial system also. Okay, so what is this collegial system, and what is actually the CJI's role in the collegium system? Okay, all right. So the system again, CJI is not something which is mentioned in the constitution. Same way, collegium system is also not having any mention in the constitution. Maybe we can call it as a judicial innovation. So again, this has developed over the time. Okay, so how is this collegium system working? So who all are the members of the collegial system? So it's actually a group made of Chief Justice and the most four senior most judges of the Supreme Court will be there. Okay, so CJ will be there, and also the four senior most judges of the Supreme Court will be part of the collegial system. Okay, and they, what is their role? They actually recommend together on consensus. They actually recommend which all judges should be appointed or maybe transferred to the High Court as well as the Supreme Court. So this is actually the duty of the collegium. Okay, to make the appointments as well as transfers of the Supreme Court as well as the High Court judges. So this is the basic duty of the collegial system. Okay, all right. So here the CJ will be heading the group, and he wields a lot of considerable influence in this decision. Okay, so why does all this matter? The Chief Justice, even though he plays a key role in shaping judicial makeup, he has to ensure that the court, every function related, even the clerical work also, everything has to run smoothly. Why? Because the judiciary is one of the pillars of our democracy. So obviously it also has to run. You might be knowing that what is actually the pendency of cases in India as of now. Okay, so obviously the judiciary is already overburdened. So it's actually the CJ who needs to take up steps so that judiciary become more efficient. Okay, so this is one of the things. Okay, and mostly the things in this court are based on many conventions, and these conventional system and also related to the CJ also many conventions are also there. So these ensure that conventional system, all these ensure that there is actually a balance between this tradition, law, and even the present practical needs of the court. Okay, so that is very much important in this case. And also now the new Justice Gavai, so he is actually having a 6 months tenure. Is it? Earlier we were having Chandrachud was it? Okay, so he was one of the even before the past previous judge we had Chandrachud. So he was one of the longest serving CJs in the recent times. Okay. All right. Moving on to next important article. Again, this is a very important uh, data, some important data which you have got from the sample registration system statistical report of 2021. Again, this was released by the Registrar General of India. So that was released last year. Okay, so what are actually the important highlights, or maybe what are the insights which you will be getting from this particular uh, report? Okay, so what is actually the mostly regarding the changing population trends, birth rate, death rate, all these things will be there. Okay, all right. A question in this regard, again related to population, birth rate, death rate, migration. Okay, so this is actually the context. The sample registration system statistical report 2021 released by the Registrar General of India has been released. Okay, so this has highlighted a lot of significant demographic trend in India, especially in relation with the north-south divide also. Okay, so this is one of the major reason. Maybe we can think of it like the whole country's birth rate is slowing down a bit. Some of the states will be hitting the brakes much harder, especially the South Indian state, for example, Kerala, Tamil Nadu. So they are seeing that there is actually a huge drop in the birth rate, even twice as fast as a national average. Okay, so this is something which is very much important from the statistical perspective. Okay, so to put some numbers to it, these are some of the key data highlights of this report. So here you can see that India's crude birth rate in 2021 is 19.3 per thousand people, and it's declining annually by 1.12 percentage. Okay, so basically number of births per thousand people, number of births per thousand people. So this is India's crude birth rate, number of births per thousand people. So this is CBR, crude birth rate or CBR. Okay, number of births per thousand people. So this has got a decline of 1.12% every year. From the data is actually from 2001, 2016 to 2021, 5-year data we have. Okay, but Tamil Nadu's birth rate is falling by 2.35%. Tamil Nadu, just one state, that is actually falling by 2.3%. Okay, so here it is just 1.1 only. Here it is 2.35. Okay, and also Delhi. If you take Delhi also, it's also falling by a large number, that is 2.23. Delhi is 2.23, and if you take Kerala, it is 2.05 per year. Okay, so these three are the leading states in declining of the birth rate. Okay, so now if we take the fertility rate, the total fertility rate of the TFR also, here also we can see a similar. So what is this TFR? So this tells how many children on an average a woman is expected to have in her lifetime. Okay, in her reproductive cycle, how many children she will be having on average. Okay, so sometimes we call it as a replacement level also. We call it as a replacement level also. Okay, so in India, ideally it should be 2.1. It should be 2.1 children, but overall in India, you can see that the state data is 2.0. The present TFR is 2.0, just below the replacement level. But twist is also there. Some states, if you go to some state, we can see that the fertility rate are really high. For example, here this the required rate is 2.1, actual rate is 2.2, 2.0. But still, if you go to states like Bihar, UP, MP, and all, you can see that in Bihar it is 3.0. And if you go to UP, it is 2.7. If you go to MP, it is 2.6, very high compared to the average, or maybe compared to the even southern states and all, it is actually very high. Okay, 2.6 to 2.3. So why is this not uniform across the country? So why is this Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Delhi? So they are seeing a sharp decline, and other states are seeing a little increase also. So some reasons are also there. Okay, we'll see why this declining in the states like Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and Delhi, what is actually happening. Okay, so few reasons, like one is a high female literacy rate, and educated women. Educated women, they often choose to have fewer children. They'll say that, okay, I'm done, so let's go with the fewer children, and also they'll have a better access to this healthcare. When family planning will be there, so all these things will be helping them plan their families much more efficiently and much more effectively. Okay, and also urbanization is also one of the reasons. Urbanization. So, urbanization means again the living cost will be high. In the urban cities, the living cost will be high compared to the villages. So, more kids means again they'll have to look for like more revenue should be there, and the living cost of the overall family will also be higher. So, this is also one of the reasons why this is happening. And also delayed marriages. Delayed marriages means fewer children. Okay, for example, if there's an early marriage means they have in the reproductive age will be high, so obviously they will go for many children will be. So this is also one of the reasons why this is happening. Okay, all right. So why this regional conflict is there? Why on the flip side, these other states like Rajasthan. So earlier we have discussed like why states like Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Delhi. So they are actually having a decline in the birth rate. And now this is on the contrast. On the flip side, what is actually happening in states like Rajasthan, BR, UP, and MP. So here they show a slower decline, whether it be the birth rate, especially in the birth rate, because of the lower socio-economic development and less access to education. So whatever was there in the other states, that is not available in this states, and also the lack of less access to this better education, better health care. And interestingly, Uttarakhand is the only state where the birth rate is actually rising. Okay, so why this matters? Why this thing matters? Why this south north divide is actually mattering? Because southern states and even the big cities are moving towards something known as a sub replacement fertility. Okay, so you can see that sub replacement fertility level. Okay, so that's when this fertility rate drops below the level needed to keep the population steady, which means in future there will be a very huge decline in the population growth. So while this might sound good for controlling the population growth, especially in a country where like India, one of the most populous country in the world, so it might sound like okay, this is something which is good, but it also means that the places could face aging problem. For example, if you go to Kerala also, you can see that age population is getting higher, and also the demographic dividend will also be the that will also be going on the lower side. Okay, fewer young workers will be fewer, even higher dependency rates will also be there. Even government will also have the burden of this catering to the old age population. So that kind of geriatric uh, care should also be there, and also again puts economic pressure on the society. Okay, so these are some of the reasons why this is not a favorable condition. Okay, but still on the flip side, if you go to the north again, there also we cannot say that this is something good. We have to keep it in an optimal range. Okay? Then only we will be able to perform better. Okay, all right. So northern state, they have higher birth rates. So they are face the opposite challenge. Growing population means more infrastructure is required, like schools are required, hospitals are required, even jobs are required, resources are required. So what should the policymakers do? They are also not having this much money to feed all the population. So obviously India need to reduce the population. Here the population is increasing. Okay, so there we can see the whatever we have seen the other side, the direct opposite things we can see this side. Okay, whatever it be, the key takeaway is that one size fits all approach won't work anymore. We need separate policies for both these states which are performing well as well as the states which are not performing so good. Okay, so investing in healthcare, whether it be investing in healthcare, society, social security for adults, like that way, everything we need separate policy should be there. Okay, so this is a key takeaway from this. Moving on to next question. This is related to the periodic labor force survey, or PLFS. Okay, so this is actually a survey, maybe we can say the thermometer for India's labor market. So this will tell how many people are working, how many people are looking for work, and how many people are out of work. Okay, how many people are unemployed. So all these things, this data will be giving us. Okay, all right. So previous year question in this regard: MSMEs form the backbone of Indian economy. Discuss the challenges faced by them in post-pandemic period and how far the PLFs and other data sources help in understanding these challenges. Okay, it's a previous year question. Okay, we'll discuss regarding what is this survey, what is this periodic labor force survey. So regarding the origin, this was something which was started in 2017. something which was started in 2017. Okay, 2017, and it replaced the quinquennial employment and unemployment surveys. This was conducted by the National Sample Survey Organization. Okay, so now who is conducting this periodic labor force survey? It is done conducted by the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementations. Okay, so they are conducting this particular PLFS survey. Okay, all right. So this is actually the body regarding the origin as well as regarding the body which is associated with this particular survey. Okay, all right. So what is this actually measuring? What is this PLFS actually measuring? So most important indicators related to the workforce. So that is being measured by this. Major one is the labor force participation. Labor force participation means it's very simple. How many people of the working age are actually working, or maybe are actually looking for the work. Okay, so this is labor force participation rate. How many people are actually working, or how many people are actually looking for the looking for work. So this is labor force participation rate. Okay, another important thing is worker population ratio, or WPRO, worker population ratio. Again, the proportion of the people employed, how many of are actually employed. So that is worker population ratio. Okay, next one is unemployment rate. Again, this is also very simple. Unemployed rate means that the percentage population who want to work but they are not ready, not able to find a work. So this is known as unemployment rate. Okay, so labor force participation rate means it's actually the people who are working or the people who are actually looking for the work. So that is it. Worker population ratio means people are working with respect to the total population. Unemployment rate means people are, they wanted to work but still they are not getting the work. Okay, so this is unemployment unemployment rates. These are some of the important metrics which are related to this. Okay, all right. Another thing, it also collects data in two important ways. One, one looks as usual, the usual activity, what is happening in the past year, and also other one that focus on what people were doing in the past week. So one is related to a yearly basis, another one is related to a weekly basis. So this will help capture both long term as well as the short term employment patterns. Okay, all right. So what has actually changed? What is actually the big change which has happened? Yeah. So these are the highlights of the revamp. Okay, PLFS revamp, which has been revamped. So what is actually the big change which has happened? So the government has decided to include rural India more deeply in the survey. Rural India more deeply in the survey. But what was actually the previous condition? More frequent data was focused on the urban areas. But remember, over 60%, over 60% of the Indian population is still living in the rural regions. Obviously, now we have to consider that, otherwise the data will be flawed. Okay, so now we have considered that, and now we have revamped it. Okay, and also these areas have different kinds of jobs and challenges, and this is also very crucial to understand the situation. Okay, so the revamp PLFS, so this will now include rural data, and both in the monthly basis as well as in a quarterly basis. Okay, so this will give a fuller picture of this employment across the country. Okay, all right. So another one is expanding the survey sample size dramatically from about 1 lakh households to now it is actually covering 2.72 households. Okay. Now earlier it was around 1 lakh household. Now it has moved on to 2.72 lakh households. So this is actually a 2.65 times increase. 2.65 times increase. So that's also there. And also the urban units has been surveyed. Each surveying the 12 households. So this also making the data more reliable and representative. Okay. So what does this mean in practice? For the first time, the policymakers can track the seasonal jobs, rural unemployment, and see how well this rural job programs, for example, like the most popular one, the Manrega, MGNREGA, or maybe Skill India program. So how these programs are also working, how people are able to get absorbed in this particular thing. So that will also be done. Okay, and also the survey will start releasing earlier it was from the earlier thing, it will be releasing bulletins nationwide, and even the quarterly detailed reports for the major state, that will also be released. Okay, so for nationwide and quarterly detailed reports for major sites, we can completely rely on this PLFS survey as per this data. Okay, for example, the first month monthly bulletin introducing the rural data that will come out this month, May 2025 it will come. So that will be covering the April data, and the first quarterly report will be released in August 2025. Okay, the entire quarter will be released. Okay, so why this is important? Why we have to come up with all this revamp? One, obviously, the rural 60% of the worker population is in the rural areas. Okay, so that is one reason. So we want to be more precise. With the more precise and frequent data is needed, and government can respond faster to these economic changes. For example, like the job losses will be there, or maybe shifts caused by technology or migration, that will also be there. And even states can plan better to they can tailor the policies to their specific market needs. So that is also possible. Okay, so in a nutshell, if we want to say, the revamp means India is stepping up its game better, so that we can understand even support the workers also, not just in cities but also in the rural areas in a comprehensive way. Okay, all right, so that's it. These are the 4 topics for today's daily news analysis. So moving on to the mains practice question, again from the first topic, genome editing. Okay, very simple question. What is genome editing and how is it different from the genetic modification? Discuss the benefits and concerns associated with genome edited crops in India. Okay, it's a direct definition is asked. So obviously you have to start with the definition. What is this genome editing, and like how it is altering the native genes, and you can write the types of this genome editing also. Okay, and also what is this genetic modification? Maybe you can draw a column. You can write it like what is actually the difference between the genetic modification and genome editing. Okay, so genome editing means SDN1 and SDN2. Genetic modification means it will be SDN3 will also be. Okay, so what are the benefits? Like high yield, early maturity, drought resistance, climate resistance, better nitrogen absorbing capacity. So like that we can write the benefits also, and finally you can write the concerns also. Okay, what are the concerns? Recently also the XICAR members, so how they have actually responded to this also we can write in this, and finally you can conclude by we need this type of tools, we need to promote these tools, but still the concerns also has to be addressed. Okay, so like that you can conclude it. All right, moving on to the prelims practice questions of yesterday's daily news analysis. Okay, so today's prelims practice questions of today's daily news analysis will be discussed tomorrow in tomorrow's daily news analysis. Okay, and also you can visit the website navigator.narayanaes.com. So there the daily quiz tab will be there. Click on the tab and you'll be able to answer all the questions from our website itself. Okay, the discussion will happen tomorrow. Okay, all right. So 4 statement question. This is related to the Pradhan Mantri Schools for Rising India scheme and also the Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan. Okay. So PM Shri scheme was announced in 2022 and aims to upgrade at least 14,500 government schools in exemplar institution to showcase the implementation of the National Education Policy 2020. This is a correct statement. Next one, the budget for PM Shri scheme is over 27,000 crore for 5 years, with the center bearing 60% of the cost and the states covering 40%. This is also correct. Next one, Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan combines Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan and teacher education to provide comprehensive support for quality education. Again, this is why the scheme was implemented. So this is also correct. The PM Shri scheme selected schools will only focus on traditional teaching methods. No, this statement is wrong. Okay, so this will not only be focusing on the traditional statements, but again it will be covering more experimental, holistic and integrated play based teaching. All these things will also be considering this. Okay, so this is wrong. So correct answer will be B, 1, 2 and 3. Okay. All right, moving on to next prelims practice question. So which of the following statements regarding India-US trade relation is correct? The US is India's second largest export destination after China. India exports more to US than it imports from the US. The total trade volume between India and US is lower than that with EU. Trade disputes between India and US have been resolved with the signing of a free trade agreement. Okay, so which one is correct? Correct answer is B. India is actually exporting more to the US than it imports from the US. Okay, so according to the data, India exports around $52 billion $52 billion than it imports from US. So that will be around $29 only. So almost double, and it has actually created a trade surplus of $23 billion also. Okay, so this is mainly due to the strong exports in pharmaceutical, even IT services. We are very much important in IT services, and also textiles are there, and other precious stone jewelry also. Okay, so this is actually, and from US, the imports include technology, like technology products, and even mainly defense equipments are also there. Okay, all right. So this is, so the correct answer is B. India exports more to the US than it imports from US. Okay, so B is a correct answer. So these are the two questions from yesterday's daily news analysis. So these are the questions of today's daily news analysis. You can go to our website navigator.narayanias.com, and there you will be able to see a tab daily news. So click on the tab and you can directly answer it from there. And also you will be, this question will be discussed in tomorrow's daily news analysis also. Okay, so these are the questions which will be having from all the three prelims topics which we have discussed today. Okay, all right. So that's it for today. Thank you so much.